Hello, my miraculous friend, and welcome to another episode of the Magnify Your Miracles podcast. This is Reverend Frances Baden, and I'm so grateful to spend this time with you and so excited to share my amazing guest today, the wonderful New York Times bestselling author, Peggy McColl. But before we get into all the great stuff, let's go ahead and take a few deep breaths together just to really get ourselves grounded and centered. And as always, if you are driving, please keep your eyes open, but you can still bring your awareness to your breath. And just allow yourself to start becoming more receptive by becoming more present in this moment. Giving yourself complete permission to let go of whatever happened before, whatever might be happening afterwards, and just coming deeply into the now. And as you let yourself think about what it is that you would love to receive today, what message, what inspiration, just let yourself tune into that feeling as if you have already received it. And let your whole body, mind, and spirit be flooded with that feeling of inspiration, gratitude, joy, love, whatever it might be. And knowing that that's exactly what you're going to be experiencing today, let's take one more deep breath together in gratitude, and we can begin. All right, well, hello again, my miraculous friend, and I am so grateful to get to spend this time with you because today we have one of my dreams come true. A true miracle is happening. I'm getting to interview one of my heroes, who is Peggy McColl. Let me tell you a little bit about Peggy. She's the president and the founder of Dynamic Destinies. She has a proven track record of over 35 years helping individuals achieve their goals. I love that. As a New York Times bestselling author and manifestation mentor, Peggy has been endorsed by some of the most renowned experts in the personal development field, including Bob Proctor, Jim Rohn, Debbie Ford, and many, many others. From stay-at-home moms and dads to New York Times bestselling authors, Peggy McColl is dedicated to helping you achieve your goals. Please help me welcome the wonderful Peggy McColl. Hi, Peggy.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. This is fun. I love the way you started your podcast. That was just beautiful.
Oh, thank you so, so much. And I know that that's a big piece of how you work with people. But I always ask my guests in the beginning, the very first question is, what is your definition of a miracle? I know that you're somebody who witnesses miracles all the time in your own work. What would you say a miracle is?
You know, miracle can be a number of different things, but I think it's like something that's unexpected, something that occurred without ever knowing how it was going to occur. And I think that's probably, keeping it simple. I love to keep things simple. And I think that would be the simplistic definition that I could ever find for miracle.
Yeah, the unexpected. I saw on your website that there's this beautiful quote on there about magic, and that once you learn the magic, then it's not magic. But in life, once you learn, then everything's magic. And I feel it's the same thing as like miracles and magic. They kind of go hand in hand.
So true. So true. That's such a great quote. The quote goes like this: magic is the opposite of life. With magic, when you know how it works, the magic disappears. But with life, when you know how it works, the magic begins. And you're right, we could easily substitute miracles. But when people think of magic, I have a couple of friends that are magicians, they're professional, and people often ask them, how did you do that? And their response is usually, very well.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'm so grateful that you wrote this book, The Demand Principle. This is just the most recent of many, many books. I know you have many, many books in your beautiful body of work, and I've been recommending this book to all of my listeners because it is so, so helpful. Tell us a little bit more about the work that you do. I know that you help people become best-selling authors. Your real goal is to help everybody achieve their dreams. I've never met anybody as committed to making a difference on the planet through their work as you. It's one of the things that really has drawn me to you. So tell us a little bit about your work so that listeners know if they're meeting you for the first time.
Well, thank you. Well, I find that my work is really me. There's no separation from the two. And, even when I was with my first husband way back when, and he didn't like personal development, he wasn't into it. He thought it was a bunch of garbage, or crock or whatever. And that's fine. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, of course.
Yeah.
But I found that the reason why I think we just really didn't work well together was because I look at my work as a part of who I am. I believe that's why I was put on this earth. And, I went through a brutal upbringing, a very abusive upbringing. And I got to a point where I was suicidal. And so fortunately, at the young age of 19, which was back in like 1979, I met the wonderful Bob Proctor, and that really changed my life. So I made a decision in the 1980s that one day I would work in this business, in this industry, in this genre, but I didn't know what it would look like, smell like, or taste like. I just decided one day, because I had changed my own life around. And I really believe that's so important for any spiritual teacher, healer, author, coach, whatever they're doing, that I believe that you've got to come from integrity, that you really should be a living, breathing example of your work. And so when I incorporated my business in 1994, the intention was to help people discover what their passion is, what they really want to do, and figure out what they want to experience in this wonderful earthly experience that we've all been given. And that's how the business started. But around 2000, I made a decision, I'm going to write a book, because I figured that would also help, make a big difference. And so I wrote a book, and, I have a kind of a story around all of that too. And 18 books later, The Demand Principles, book number 18, I've really found it to be a wonderful way of getting a message out there in the world and help to build your credibility. But it's not about what's in it for you. It's all about how can you make a difference in the world? How can you help another? Because the truth is that when you help another, it'll help you. So my work is all around whatever I can do to create a greater awareness in this world that brings greater value, that is a contributory kind of experience that benefits other people in positive ways, and only positive ways. It's not about helping make millionaires out there so that they're, selfishly earning money or taking advantage of people. Not that at all. Like, whether it comes down to helping people discover what their passion is and find a way to monetize that by bringing great value to the world, whether it's writing a book, creating an online program, whether it's something else completely different, that's really what I'm here to do. So in the 90s, I established a mission for my life, and that is to make a positive and beneficial contribution to the lives of millions. So if I do it with my own work, great. If I do it with my own work and help other people do it, great. So as long as I'm doing it and showing up every day, like I wake up in the morning and here's what I think about: how will I serve today that makes a positive difference in the world? I take my work so seriously. And I was thinking about my husband today. He's out working around the pool, and he just ran some errands. And I was thinking, he's doing his thing, I'm doing my thing. But my thing is what we're doing. When you ask to do this, it's like, yes. So anytime I get a request or get a thought or a consciousness or a message comes to me from the universe, and it feels like it's in alignment with my purpose, the answer is always yes.
Oh, I love that. It's so inspiring. And it really does come through everything that you do. Because I subscribe to your morning manifestation, like everything that you do. I'm like, wow, Peggy is really trying to, the intention of helping millions, it's in everything you do. You can feel it. You can feel it. And I love the thing that you always say is like, have fun, make it fun so that it doesn't feel like this drudgery. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about that, because you mentioned that you came from this abusive background, and yet here you are. And can you tell us a little bit more about what that journey was like? Because I know that there are a lot of people that I've worked with that they come from these challenging backgrounds, and it's hard for them to even imagine something better.
Oh, I get it. I totally get it. And I think that's one of my great blessings in my life is my childhood. So if someone asked me the question, like, what would you go back and change? I wouldn't change any of it. And sure, there are periods in my life where I'm embarrassed, the way that I behaved. And I know I didn't behave properly or appropriately or in the best interest of all. And, it is what it is. I was just doing the best I could with what I knew at the time. Yeah. And so, I know what it's like to be in emotional pain. I know what it's like to not have a will to live. I know what it's like to think that you were born to live a miserable life. And I know what that's like. I know what it's like to feel just complete darkness and there's no way out. And so I think it helps me help others because I can empathize with their state. One of my challenges is continuing to remove myself from that experience and that emotion, because even as the question comes up, I can feel myself almost on the edge where I could lose it, right? You know, and so it was so strong within me, all those years of all those destructive, dark feelings, that it's still there and it can come out. And so that's why I do the work that I do every single day on myself, you know, hours every single day, really working on myself, and why I find so much joy in doing what I'm doing, because every moment, it's like with the work you do as well, every moment we're helping another. And that's our intention. It's unconditional. We're here to help. We're here to give. We're here to serve. Every time we do that, it brings good back to us. It's not why we do it, but I find it always brings good back to us. Maybe not right away, sometimes a little bit later, but even with the way you started your podcast, like that to me tells me how heart-centered you are, that you're thinking about your listeners, right? And I believe as a business person, which I am, an entrepreneur, I run a company. As a business person, I have to be thinking about my customers. I have to be thinking about my prospects. I have to be thinking about how I can serve them and serve them better. And constantly, I always tell my clients, keep your hand on the pulse of the industry, like really pay attention. So we started this thing called the Author Marathon, and there's some questions coming in, and I'll get an idea, how can I serve them even better? And I think it's important that when you understand where you came from and you can understand what other people went through or have gone through as well, I think it creates a better version of a person who's here to serve others. Well, not that you have to. I don't think you have to go through horrific life experiences to understand horrific life experiences, right? You know, there's people that have been abused physically, you know, through rape and other horrible, horrible things. I haven't had that. But yet I can understand what the pain is, you know, to go through a horrific emotional experience, and, you know, how to really overcome that. So I believe that my own life challenges has really conditioned me to be more compassionate with other people's feelings.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I so appreciate everything that you said about, you know, making a decision. And I love that, because that's one of the very first things in the Demand Principle book, is you talk about that, about how, you know, once you decide, and it's never too late. I mean, if you're still breathing and you're on this planet, you can make a decision.
What I say.
Right?
Yeah, so true.
Can you tell us, you spoke just now about that Author Marathon. Tell us a little bit about that program, because I'm fascinated to hear about that.
Yeah, you know, I've you know, have 18 books that are out there in the world, been published by publishing houses, some big publishing houses, been on the New York Times bestseller list. You know, I've self-published as well. And I've worked with many authors to help them accomplish their dreams too. And then I was thinking, what is it that really stops people from making that decision to write their book? And I think it's, you know, not making the decision. They think it's hard, and it's not, or they think, who would want to read anything I wrote? And that's not the truth, you know. It's like, and that's just paradigms, that's belief systems that are in someone's way. So I've been thinking about, you know, this idea came to me actually, it was last year or the year before. It actually wasn't even recently. And I have 700 domain names, and every one of my domain names has come from an idea. I get inspired, and I believe it's spirit speaking to and through me. So I'm totally open to these ideas, to these messages. So I heard a message from spirit saying, do a marathon for authors, the Author Marathon. So I go to GoDaddy, I registered the domain name, and we didn't do anything with it at first. It just sort of sat there, you know, just in the back burner type of thing. And so I decided a couple of months ago, it's time. And so I constructed it. What is it going to look like, smell like, taste like? And so I designed the program, and it's 26 days to get your book written. Now, I wrote one book in a weekend with most of the writing one day. So it could, you know, I could be done in shorter than 26 days, but my very, very first book I wrote in 26 days. And when we think about a marathon that you'd run or walk, it's 26 miles.
26 miles, that's true.
Right. So that's where I came up with the idea. I thought, if they just write even for an hour every day, then they'll get their book done. I think people think it's a lot harder than it is, or a lot more work than it is. And quite often people are pleasantly surprised when they actually get on with the work. And so we decided to move into action. We got it all ready. We launched it. We're going to do another one. And you know, it's fun because it's like a marathon. You're running with other people, like the Boston Marathon. Over 30,000 people run it every year. And so I think that's what makes it a lot of fun as well. So I have authors in this program that have written other books, and this might be their 8th book, or that might be their 2nd book. I have authors that have just never even thought about writing a book, but they thought, heck, I like this idea, I'm on board, and they signed up. So we've got a wide variety of professionals, unprofessional, stay-at-home moms, dads, grandparents, kids. We've got a really wonderful variety. Some are writing nonfiction, some are writing fiction. And I'd say more nonfiction are in the author marathon. We've got people who are doing children's books. So those,
wow.
they should be done after day 2.
Awesome. Okay. So you're going to be offering this again. So what I'm going to do for everyone who's listening, I'm going to put a link in the show notes so that you can find out more about the author marathon, as well as some of Peggy's other offerings as well. I love that idea of doing it with everybody. It's so powerful. So powerful. All right, so let's talk about this fabulous book, The Demand Principle, which I love, Your Invisible Guide to Easily Manifest Anything. So I think one of the first things we have to let people know, and I mentioned this last week when we were talking, when I did the book review for this, is what is a demand? Because I think that word has a bad rap. I think people think like you're being pushy or something like that. But I will share with you, Peggy, that one of the spiritual teachers that I follow, he's no longer alive, but Paramhansa Yogananda, he has a whole book called Prayer Demands.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
He has a book called Prayer Demands, or at least he describes them as prayer demands. And he would say, like, you have to pray knowing that it's already yours. You have to pray from this place knowing that the divine wants you to have whatever that is, not from a begging point of view, but from a place of like, this is my right. So tell us a little bit about that demand idea.
Yeah, I mean, that's it exactly. And so in the book, in the demand principle, like right on the first chapter, what is the meaning of a demand? And the dictionary defines it this way: an insistent and peremptory request as if made by right. So think about it. I insist, right? I expect it. Think about babies, right?
Yeah.
When babies want something, they're going to do what? They're going to cry, right? Or toddlers, they're going to scream until they get what they want. Or dogs, you know, I have a couple little doggies and they want something, you know, we have one, she's very, very vocal, Bella, and she wants something. She wants to go for a walk. I mean, she won't stop. I mean, my husband and I would finish dinner last night. We're sitting down and we're relaxing. And all of a sudden Bella's there like crying, and she'll come up like, just, I demand you take me for a walk. And
right.
So she gets what she wants, but that's the idea. It's an insistent and peremptory request as if made by right. And in all the great teachings, all of the great teachings, all the great masters on manifestation, they all say the same thing. You've got to expect and feel as if your desire is already here. You've got to know it's already here. You don't have to know how.
Yeah.
You do not have to know how, but just know that it's here. So that's part of the demands.
Yeah. I love, you know, I just think about how the world would be different if people actually took themselves seriously that way.
Yeah.
When they say a prayer, they make that demand. And the thing I want to really emphasize is you want to recognize that the demand that you're making is actually of yourself.
Yes.
You're not trying to manipulate other people. You're really making a demand. And you say in this book, and I love that when you are making this demand, it's not even about the stuff, it's about the person that you become.
So true. Yeah, it's absolutely true. It's not about the person. It's not about the stuff or what you're going to get. Like, I've stretched myself on so many occasions, you know, pursuing goals. Even writing a book was a stretch for me. And I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a guide or mentor or coach or anything like that, but I had a desire, and the desire was to write a book. So I just demanded of myself that I'm going to do the work and figure it out along the way. And then when I decided, okay, I think I'll be a New York Times bestselling author, I demanded that of myself too. And yes, you know, I accomplished all those things, and the benefits just keep coming. It's like the gift that keeps giving, I find.
Yeah. Yeah. What was the inspiration behind this book specifically? Because I know you wrote that beautiful book that became the New York Times bestseller, The Destiny Switch.
Your Destiny Switch.
Your Destiny Switch. Yeah. So this one almost feels like a follow-up to that book in some ways.
Yeah. You know what? It's interesting because, you know, anyone that has children, you know, they, if you have more than one, there's often not a favorite, right? You have two children, there's not a favorite child. You love them both. And I had always felt that with my books. Like there wasn't a favorite child of my books
Right.
until this book. Now is a different story. Now I've got a favorite baby. And right behind it is Your Destiny Switch, which is my biggest book. It's in 37 languages and sold in 100 countries. I mean, it's a huge success. So the inspiration behind it was really based on Napoleon Hill. And Napoleon Hill, one of my favorite quotes of all time is a quote by Napoleon Hill. And he says, "No more effort is required to aim high in life, to demand prosperity and abundance than it is to accept misery and poverty." And when I first heard that quote, I don't think I thought anything of it. I really didn't. And it wasn't until really thinking about it, wait a minute, no more effort? No more effort. Like, is this not great news? Like, this would be the best news for everybody. So, I mean, you could be living a miserable, impoverished life, and there's no more effort required for it to be abundant and happy. And that really comes down to better choices, demanding more of yourself, demanding more of the universe, demanding more of life, demanding, just making demands, knowing that it's your birthright. It's everyone's birthright. No one's made more special than another person. We've heard over and over again, it's almost like a cliche. We're all the same. We're all the same. We're all the same. The truth is we are. I mean, we all come in the same way, naked, ready for life, screaming, sometimes kicking and screaming all the way. But either way, we are all the same. And so I was really inspired I think the whole idea and the concept behind the demand principle is unique. It's not that it's drastically different than anything else that's out there. I just really believe it's a unique idea, and it's a powerful idea. And that's really what inspired me to write it.
I really feel like this is a handbook. I told my listeners, this is a handbook for miracles. If you want to know how to really magnify miracles in your life, this is it, because it's even the way that you laid it out, Peggy. I love this idea. You took Napoleon Hill's quote of whatever the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. And so it's broken down into conceive, believe, and achieve. I'm like, this is brilliant. I mean, it just breaks it down into such usable bite-sized chunks, step by step. And I know for me, I'm going through it a second time. And I feel like you're holding my hand when I'm reading this book. I really feel that way. It's really it's just so well done. Really, really well done.
I'm a real, there's a couple approaches that I take to all of this. And one is I want to first seek to understand. And then the next thing is I want to apply it, because I know that's where the difference is made. That's where the miracles happen, if you will. And so I write in that way. I teach in that way. I give people the guidance. So I'm often told how simplistic it is, and on purpose. It's really designed that way. I want people to understand this idea, and I want them to implement. So that's why we divided the book up the way that we did. And that's why there's exercises in there, because it's not enough. You read the book, it's not enough. It's not going to change your life. You've got to apply what you're learning. And the only way to apply what you're learning is through understanding. So it's designed in a way that gives the understanding and then suggests, here's how you apply it now, and here's how you'll make a difference in your own life.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, if listeners want to demand their own miracle, if they really want to dive in, you have any suggestions like where they should begin, or how you prefer people to connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, the best places, I have so many things that we give away. We're giving away, I created this thing called the Manifestation Toolbox, and it's totally free, manifestationtoolbox.com. You can just go there, and I'm constantly adding things. I added 2 things the other day. And one of the things that I added, I'm just going to grab this on my desk, is this. I call it let's see if you can see it, a manifestation target. So let me explain what it is. So if you think about a demand that you have, and when you make a demand to the universe, you've got to hold that idea, as Bob Proctor would say, with your will, right? You've got to imagine that it's here now. How do you do that? Through focus, right? You've got to intensify your focus. So an idea popped in my mind about a week and a half ago to create something for myself, a tool for myself called the manifestation target. So I went online and I found a target, like a dartboard kind of image, and I printed it. And in the middle, I wrote my demand, my top demand. And on the top, I wrote, I demand. And then on the one corner, I wrote, I fuse with it, meaning I feel it as if it's here. We are one, we are one. And then at the bottom, I wrote, this is absolutely guaranteed. The top or the bottom right or left, I wrote, I'm always thinking from my goal. And the top left, I wrote, my new home from which I reside. How I view the world is knowing that this is already done. So I created this for myself, and I thought, I bet my prospects, clients, or friends in the world would love one of these too. So I had my designer create one, design it, and we made it available on the Manifestation Toolbox, along with a lot of other things. I have something there called the 7-Day Miracle.
Oh, tell us about that.
Okay, so the thing that I find is that when people really get into the habit of doing things, like really become habitual manifestors, they're gonna get traction and start to create better results. So I created a process a number of years ago for myself, and I called it the 7-Day Miracle because I made a decision. There's 7 things I'm going to do every single day without fail, and I'm going to check off like on a checklist every single day that I've done them. Mm-hmm. And I found that miracles started to occur in my life when I stuck to these things. And so that is also on the Manifestation Toolbox. It's called the 7-Day Miracle. I explain what it is, and then I have a 7-Day Miracle checklist. And when people follow through with that, they can create some miracles in their life. It might not take 7 days. It might take 2, or it might take 70. I mean, we don't know how long miracles are going to take, right? We've got to trust and know that they're already done.
Right. Oh, I love that. So I just wrote that down. So manifestationtoolbox.com. I'll put that in the show notes as well.
Perfect.
And so I know you have so many things to offer to people. So I'm going to recommend that people go to your website. I've already recommended that they purchase this book because this book comes with so many wonderful gifts as well. It's really a training program. And then also there's the author marathon, which sounds like that's going to come up again. It's just so exciting. Anything else, Peggy, before we go?
Well, I just love being here. I love what you're doing. I love your energy. I love the message that you're bringing to the world. And I just want to encourage people to help, raise up the consciousness in the world in one way, some way. Wallace D. Wattles talks about leaving people with the impression of increase. And I would just really like to invite people to find a way to leave another with the impression of increase. It could be sharing like what you're doing right here. You're sharing other people's resources as well. And of course, I make all kinds of stuff free online. Your podcast is free as well. And just, if you like your podcast, that people are watching this or listening to this and they love it, share it with another, because it does make a difference in the world. So I would just love to see more sharing and giving and loving going on in the world, because it really makes the whole world a better place.
I love that. I love that so much. And you also, your podcast, I'll put that there too, is that you have a podcast as well where people can get that inspiration on a regular basis.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you so much, Peggy McColl. So great to connect with you. And I look forward to hopefully doing some work with you as well. I think I might join that next author marathon and work on I'm finishing one book, but I have another one I want to work on. So maybe I'll see you there. Perfect. All right, my friends. So thank you again for joining us for the Magnify Your Miracles podcast. So grateful that you're here. And remember that the key to magnifying your miracles is to remember that your miracle is already here. Take care, my friends. Bye-bye.